Russia's vast oil and gas reserves have made it a global energy powerhouse for decades, shaping not only its own destiny, but also the energy landscape of the world. The sheer scale of its resources, stretching across the frozen tundra and deep beneath the earth, has allowed Russia to exert influence far beyond its borders. Its extensive network of pipelines and bustling ports on the Baltic and Black Seas send millions of barrels of crude oil and natural gas to buyers worldwide every day, fueling entire economies and giving Moscow immense geopolitical leverage over both allies and rivals. The revenue from these energy exports forms the backbone of the Russian state, funding everything from social programs and public infrastructure to military operations and technological development. Oil and gas profits are deeply woven into the fabric of Russian society and governance. Any disruption to this system isn't just a technical hiccup. It's a direct threat to Russia's economic foundation, its political stability, and its global influence. The stakes are incredibly high. Traditionally, disputes have centered on pipeline politics, transit routes, or pricing wars with neighboring countries and major consumers. But now, the ongoing conflict in Ukraine has introduced a new and unpredictable threat: long-range drone attacks that specifically target Russia's critical oil infrastructure, striking at the very heart of its energy empire. These strikes reach deep into Russian territory, bypassing traditional defenses and hitting the core of its export capabilities, causing both physical and psychological damage. The use of drones marks a dramatic shift in modern warfare, where economic assets can be targeted with precision from afar, blurring the lines between military and economic battlefields. For Russia, this is an unprecedented challenge to both national security and economic stability, forcing the government to rethink its strategies and invest heavily in new forms of protection. For the world, it raises urgent questions about energy security, the reliability of global supply chains, and the volatility of oil prices that affect every nation and consumer. The stability once taken for granted is now under threat, as technology, military strategy, and global economics collide in unpredictable ways. The global energy order is being tested in ways we're only beginning to understand, with consequences that could reshape the world for years to come. In recent months, a coordinated and relentless wave of drone attacks has systematically targeted Russia's vital oil export infrastructure, sending shockwaves through the global energy sector. These drones, small, elusive, and equipped with advanced technology, have struck at the heart of Russia's energy network, hitting major terminals and refineries. Key ports like Ust-Luga and Novorossiysk, which are crucial for Russia's oil exports, have been repeatedly targeted, highlighting the vulnerability of even the most heavily guarded facilities. The attacks are not random, they are calculated and strategic, designed to disrupt the steady flow of crude oil to international markets. The resulting fires and destruction inflict lasting damage that is both costly and time-consuming to repair, further straining Russia's resources. The precision, range, and coordination of these drone strikes reveal a high level of intelligence gathering and meticulous planning, making drones a formidable weapon in the realm of asymmetric warfare. What started as isolated incidents near the Ukrainian border has now evolved into a campaign reaching deep into Russian territory. This demonstrates a growing capability to threaten strategic assets across vast distances, far beyond the front lines. The psychological impact is profound. No facility feels truly secure, forcing Moscow to stretch its defenses thin and keep security forces on constant alert. Each new strike adds to a mounting backlog of repairs, drives up shipping insurance costs, and injects fresh uncertainty into already volatile global energy markets, affecting prices and supply chains worldwide. This is a war of attrition, targeting the economic engine that sustains the Russian state and its ability to fund ongoing military operations. The cumulative effect is a persistent, escalating problem for Russia's export capacity, as repeated attacks erode both infrastructure and confidence. Military analysts and energy experts are now intensely focused on measuring the true impact of this evolving strategy, debating how it might reshape the future of energy security. The effectiveness of these attacks is fundamentally reshaping the conversation about Russia's ability to finance its war, maintain its global energy role, and weather the mounting economic pressure from these persistent threats. The drone strikes have had immediate, tangible effects on Russia's oil export capacity. Attacks on port facilities force shutdowns for safety checks and emergency repairs, sometimes halting hundreds of thousands of barrels per day. Even minor damage can cause significant delays, as thorough inspections are required to prevent further incidents. While Russian officials downplay the impact, independent shipping data and satellite imagery often reveal more severe and prolonged disruptions. Repairing damaged terminals is complex, often requiring specialized parts and expertise that sanctions make hard to obtain. Downtime can stretch from days to weeks, creating a lingering reduction in export capacity. As seaborne exports falter, Russia must rely more on pipelines, which are less flexible and also vulnerable. Each successful strike increases pressure on the entire export system, leading to measurable drops in global oil supply. This directly challenges Russia's ability to generate revenue and fulfill contracts, sending ripples through the energy world. The cumulative effect is a slow but steady degradation of Russia's export infrastructure. The world is watching as these disruptions reshape the global oil landscape. Moscow's public response to the attacks is one of strength and control, with officials claiming most drones are intercepted and damage is minimal. Behind the scenes, however, Russia is ramping up air defenses and deploying more resources to protect key energy sites. The allocation of military assets to economic infrastructure signals that Moscow sees these attacks as a serious strategic threat. State media frames the strikes as ineffective, reinforcing a narrative of resilience. Yet, there's a growing acknowledgement among officials that a more robust, long-term solution is needed. Calls for investment in drone defense and proactive countermeasures are increasing. The persistence of these attacks is forcing a fundamental reassessment of Russia's security strategy. The recent drone strikes have injected a fresh wave of uncertainty into global oil markets, which rely heavily on stability and predictability to function smoothly. These attacks have not only disrupted physical infrastructure, but have also shaken market confidence, making investors and governments nervous about what might come next. Even relatively small disruptions from a major producer like Russia can send shockwaves through the market, pushing prices higher as traders quickly factor in the risk of future attacks or supply interruptions. The mere possibility of further instability is enough to trigger volatility and speculation. Oil importing nations, especially those in Europe and Asia, are particularly vulnerable to these price spikes. Rising oil costs can quickly drive up expenses for transportation, manufacturing, and electricity, impacting everything from shipping goods to powering homes and factories. For everyday consumers, this translates to higher prices at the pump and steeper utility bills. For governments, it can fuel inflation, strain household budgets, and ultimately slow down economic growth, making recovery from other crises even more challenging. International organizations and OPEC+ producers are monitoring the situation closely, weighing both the risks and potential opportunities that come with market upheaval. Their decisions in the coming weeks could shape the direction of global energy prices. While some oil producers could benefit from higher prices in the short term, the increased market volatility makes long-term planning and investment decisions far more difficult, adding another layer of complexity to an already uncertain landscape. The main risks to oil supply are no longer limited to political instability or natural disasters. Technological and military threats, such as drone attacks, are now front and center, forcing the industry to adapt rapidly. Energy companies, insurers, and governments are urgently rethinking their strategies for supply security, investing in new technologies and protocols to protect critical infrastructure from emerging threats. The era of predictable Russian oil flows may be over, replaced by a new reality of heightened vigilance, increased security measures, and constant monitoring of geopolitical developments. In today's world, the global oil market now reacts to the flight path of a drone just as much as to the movement of a tanker, highlighting how technology and conflict are reshaping the energy landscape for everyone. History shows that disruptions to oil supply can have far-reaching consequences. The 1973 oil crisis and the tanker war of the 1980s both caused price spikes and reshaped global politics. More recently, the 2019 drone attack on Saudi oil facilities caused the largest single-day jump in oil prices in decades. These events highlight the vulnerability of concentrated energy infrastructure to targeted attacks. The current campaign against Russia is different. It's persistent, not a one-off shock, and could steadily erode supply capacity. Past crises led to long-term shifts in energy policy and investment. The lessons of history are clear: energy security is never guaranteed. Analysts use satellite imagery and real-time tanker tracking to assess the true impact of the strikes, often revealing more disruption than official reports admit. A drop in tanker traffic or longer loading times at Russian ports signals operational problems. Rising insurance premiums for ships visiting Russian ports reflect growing risk and can deter shipping, further constricting exports. Experts also scrutinize statements from Russian oil executives for hints of deeper concerns or shifts in strategy. Combining hard data with these insights, the consensus is clear. Russia's system is resilient, but the sustained attacks are creating a significant drag on export capabilities. The cumulative effect is a slow erosion of Russia's role as a reliable energy supplier. The world's energy balance is shifting, one drone strike at a time. The data tells a story that official statements can't hide. The drone strikes are reshaping the geopolitical landscape, moving the conflict into the economic domain. Ukraine's strategy targets Russia's economic lifeline, aiming to weaken its war effort over time. This creates diplomatic challenges for the West, which must balance support for Ukraine with concerns about global energy stability and inflation. China and India, major buyers of Russian oil, now face new supply risks and may need to seek alternatives, shifting global trade flows. The attacks highlight how economic strength can become a vulnerability in the age of high-tech warfare. Critical infrastructure, once thought safe, is now exposed to low-cost, high-impact attacks. All nations must reconsider their own security in this new era. The rules of global power are being rewritten in real time. The story of drone strikes on Russia's oil industry is still unfolding, with global consequences. The technological race between offensive drones and defensive systems will shape the future of energy security. Russia's ability to repair and reroute exports and the cumulative impact of ongoing attacks are key variables. The response of OPEC+ and other producers will influence global prices and supply stability. Diplomatic maneuvering between major powers will be critical as the situation evolves. This conflict shows how regional wars can have immediate global economic effects. The world is watching as the tremors from these attacks reach far beyond Russia's borders.